Today we're going to talk about how to move from a 9-to-5 job and start your own business. If you're new here, my name is Xander and welcome to GWP Business Academy. Okay, so let's begin. The first thing we want to do and focus on is to assess your readiness. So you have to figure out what you're passionate about, what you're good at, and your business also should align with those rules. So make a list of your interests and your hobbies and things that you love to do. Then consider your skills and your strengths. So what are you naturally good at? What do you have experience in? So once you have a clear understanding of your passions, your skills, you can then explore business ideas that align with your business. So this will help you to create a business plan you're not only passionate about, but also capable of excelling in. So the first Bible verse that I really like to look at is, this is the one from the Amplified Version, and this is in Colossians 3, verse 23. So I'm just going to read it here for you. And it says, whatever may be your task, work at it heartily, from your soul, as something done for the Lord and not for men. So this is something really interesting, and it's a good thing to talk about, because a lot of time when we do work, we will do something for the approval of someone else, whether it is our partner, or whatever it is. But the most important thing in that Bible verse is that you've got to understand that you are doing it for God and not necessarily anyone else. So that is really important to remember in that verse. So the next thing is what you're going to do is you're going to evaluate your financial situation. So ensure you have enough savings to cover your expenses for at least 6 months. So one of the Bible verses that I also like to read there is in Luke 14 and verse 28. It says, for which of you wishing to build a building does not first sit down and calculate the cost to see whether he has sufficient means to finish it. So what I like about that verse is you can also, in a sense, add in here where it says that which of you wishing to build a farm. So you could also say, for those who want to start their own business. So if you are looking to start your own business, then you're going to want to make sure that you're going to work out all the costs. So this is going to be, all your time, all your energy, everything that you've spent, everything that you're going to spend your time on. This is going to be something that you really need to focus. So you got to make sure that you got to work out the plan, work out the cost, your time, your energy, everything, your finances. You're going to work it out before you start this business. So this is really, really important. So because at the end of the day, you're going to spend all your money, all your time, all your energy. So you're going to spend a lot of effort and a lot of time in your business. So, and this is why it's so important for you to know exactly what you want to do. You want to know what you're good at, what skills do you have. You want to make sure that those skills also align with a demanding business. So whatever business you start, you got to make sure that the business is aligned with what you want to do. So what I mean by that is that there is a demand for the business. So it's really important to make sure that whatever you start with, you got to make sure that it really aligns with your passions and your goals before moving forward. So one thing that you can do is you can really research and plan, conduct the market, do research, understand your target market, understand the competitors in the industry. And so that's going to help you to make sure that your passions and your goals are in line with what you want to do. So you got to make sure that in the marketplace out there is a demand for that business or whatever it is. You really got to make sure that spending all your time and energy in that, transitioning from your job to starting your own business is really, really crucial to have that in mind before you just, jump in there. So what you want to do is you want to create a business plan, but creating a business plan is basically just an exercise for you to get everything in order. So if you look a lot of times where business plans, you start up with a business plan, and then once you go onto the marketplace, then you'll quickly realize that it doesn't always work or align with your structured business plan. So if you're starting with one, outline your business goals, your strategies, and your financial projections. And one Bible verse that I really like to read there that helps out with that, this is in Proverbs 15. And it says here that where there is no counsel, purposes are frustrated, but with many counselors they are accomplished. So this is really, really good. So, before you start off with anything in the business, in the marketplace, You got to have a mentor, a mentor that can really guide you. You want someone that is, whatever that is you're going into, you're going to want someone that's going to help you to achieve this specific goal, whatever business that you're choosing. So it's always a great thing, to have a mentor with you that can really help you with your plans and make sure that your plans align with specifically, what you want to achieve. So always remember, just have someone, an advisor, whatever it is. Even a mentor, a business coach. A business coach is also a great thing to have someone to have with you to go on your business journey. So then what we're going to do is we're going to start to develop your brand. So this is really important when starting with a brand. So your brand has got to be really something close to you. Your name has got to have some sort of a purpose. The Academy, which is called GWP, stands for God Will Provide Academy. So it's very close to my heart. And with biblical studies and so on, I've realized that, the Bible does teach a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom, and steps that you can use for your business. So, your name is something that's really, really important. So make sure it's unique and it reflects your mission. And then you're going to create a logo, a brand identity. So this will just be, this is going to be essential for your marketing efforts, just to keep that in mind. So starting off with a name is great, and then you're going to focus on your branding and your logo and so forth. So a Bible verse that I really do like with that is in it's Proverbs 21 in its verse 20. Okay, and it says here that there are precious treasures and oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a self-confident and foolish man swallows it up and wastes it. So here's another guideline for us to understand why the Bible is so important to follow. It has tremendously helped me a lot with my own business. Whatever thing that I take on, it has helped me to make wise decisions. And if you look at that verse, it's really great where it says, there are precious treasures and oil in the dwelling place of the wise. So these are people who have really, they've gone through the road. They know all the ups and downs of business. They understand the market and they know what to do going forward. So this is just really, really important to keep in mind. So if we look at the Bible verse, and it goes on, it says, but a self-confident and foolish man swallows it up and wastes it. So the reason why, it's always important to look at that as well, because a lot of times we want to follow our own, mindset in whatever business this is. So what has helped me a lot is to realize that, let's say I want to start a, garage station or a petrol station, whatever it is, or a laundry business or a car wash business, whatever it is. You want to make sure that this business that you're starting with, you want to make sure that there is a strong demand for it, because you don't want to waste your time and you don't want to waste your energy. So a lot of times what I see, and this has happened to myself as well, I fall into some sort of a wishful thinking mindset of, this idea that I have is just going to work. And that's not always true. I've done a lot of business ventures where I realized, this might be a good idea, but there's not really a demand for it. And a lot of times you're going to waste a lot of time and energy on this mindset. So you got to know what you're getting yourself into. And, does it really align with your character, your culture, a lot of things to take in consideration. So, and this is why that Bible verse really, really is an important one to just sit down and to think about it. And a really good thing is also, build a support network, seek mentorship, find experienced entrepreneurs who can guide you, join business communities, networking with other businesses owners that can provide, valuable insight and great opportunities. There are really great opportunities when you sit with people who have experience in all of that. So now what we're going to do is, before we start off, we want to start small. So the reason why you want to start small in your business is that a lot of times, and this has happened to myself as well, I'll get excited about something, I will jump all in this idea, and then I'll use my time, I'll use my money, and all the energy, a lot of things that you've used for whatever idea this is, whatever the business idea is. But it's just wise to just start small, because if you fail, and you are going to make some mistakes in your business journey, if you fail, it's not going to affect your whole career, your life. It's not going to affect the people around you. So it's really wise that once you start off with your business idea, start very small, and just test your idea. Start small with your business idea, and to test the waters. Gather feedback, to listen to customers and make improvements accordingly. So this is just going to help you that once you start off with this plan, just make sure it doesn't affect you really that much. So the next Bible verse is that we want to look at is in Zechariah, and this is in Zechariah 4, and this is verse 10 of the Amplified, and it says, "Who with reason despises the day of small things? For these 7 shall rejoice when they see the plummet in the hand of Zerubbabel." So these 7 are the eyes of the Lord, which run to and through off the world. The reason why I like that Bible verse is that don't despise the small things. Okay, and this is why it is important to, once you start off, not to despise the small things. This is why, and I've done this. I've started with a career or a business idea, whatever it is, and I put a lot of time and a lot of capital in it just to have, lost the money or lost that business venture. So it really is important to take it very easy and to take it very, baby steps in a sense once you start out with your business venture. All right, so now we are going to move to the next part of, and this is where you are going to transition from your job, and now you want to start your business career. So there's nothing wrong with having a great career. There are people out there that really have great careers, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. So, if you have your job, whatever it is, and you enjoy it, and you see good growth in the company, there's nothing then wrong with sticking to it. But if you have a strong desire in your heart and you want to start off your business, then you got to know that eventually you're going to have to transition from your job to starting your own business. So just getting back to the job is that it's great to have a great career, but if you really want to be successful in your career, growing financially as well, spiritually as well, you've got to make sure that your career does have a high paying job or a high paying career, because you're going to save, you're going to invest your funds, and that's important for you to, make sure that you're going to be successful going forward. So a lot of people, especially myself, I've fallen into the trap where I stick to a job, and because you're desperate and you don't always know what to do, or you need cash, you need a cash flow, then you're going to stick to this job and you're going to take, in a sense, whatever it is that you have. And that's good. It's great that you can get a job, but you got to make sure that once you're in that job, you got to have a vision and to know, is this for me for the long run, or am I going to be here forever? And, the rand is getting weaker. So there's a lot of things to think about in your job, in your career, to make sure it's worth your time, worth your energy. All those things you got to take into consideration to make sure, that you're in a good environment, in a successful career going forward. So the way that we're going to transition from your job is to keep, in sense, you want to keep your day job initially, and then work on your business part-time until it becomes sustainable. So this is really important. So if you're starting off with your job, whatever the business idea that you have, you're going to make sure, one thing is also very important, is to have at least a 3 to 6 months of savings. So this is important because this is the power of saving. So we can't ignore the power of saving. So just make sure that if you have some cash, or if you've built up cash, just make sure it's in an investment account, or in an account that just gives you good interest, higher than inflation, which in South Africa is between 6 and 8%. So just to take that picture in, if you want to transition from your job to your business, at least for the beginning part, you're going to have 3 to 6 months of saving once you transition. And this is going to be the time where you, in a sense, your business is going to have a good cash flow. You've got customers that are already buying your product. Everything, the infrastructure is ready. We're going to talk about now, using your own capital or getting investors. So just before you transition, just make sure that all those things are in place. And then also, manage your time effectively. So balance your job and your business to avoid burnout, because that can really happen. And it has actually happened to me a lot. So one of the Bible verses that I want to read to you is in Proverbs 16, verse 3. And it says, "Roll your works upon the Lord, commit and trust them wholly to him. All right, and he will cause your thoughts to become agreeable to his will. And so shall your plans be established and succeed." So that is very, very powerful, especially that verse where it says that he will cause your thoughts to become agreeable to his will. All right, so the reason why I want to talk about that Bible verse is that how do we know that the career that we're starting or the job that we have, how do we know it's in line with God's will? All right, so this is just important to talk about because a lot of times we start off with a career and you might be desperate for finances, and which is understandable. We want to have a great success going forward. But then you're going to make sure that your thoughts, whether it is in your business or in your career, you're going to make sure that it's in line with God's will. So what is God's will for your working career, for your business? He wants you to bear fruit. So whatever it is in your business or in your career, God wants you to bear fruit eventually. And it's got to be, in a sense, in line with His morals and His standards. So if, as a believer, if you're in an environment that is at the moment very toxic for you, whether it is being around people that don't have the same character or culture, whatever it is, and you're in that situation, then you've got to make a transition. You've got to make a plan, in a sense, to get something else. And this is why it's so important, before starting off with anything, you've got to make sure that your mindset is in line with God's will for you. And to being in line with God's will is to make sure that the career or your business that you want to start is in line with what He wants you to achieve. So, just to give you an example, let's say you want to start with a liquor business, I personally won't prefer going into liquor because it's not in line with my idea, and it might not be in line with God's will for you at the moment or in this, mindset going forward. There's nothing wrong with it at the end of the day. God knows the intention of your heart, but eventually, if it doesn't align with God's will, somewhere down the line, you're going to get frustrated, and then you're going to say, why have I chosen? How did I get here, etc., etc. It's a massive topic on its own, but it's just really, really important to make sure that your mindset is in line with God's word. So, and because it can happen, so just make sure about those things before you start your own career or you start your own business. Okay, so now we are going to get to the part where we are looking at securing funding. So this is really an important part. So in this situation, if you start a business, you're going to need capital. So you're either going to go to the bank. All right, you're gonna present your business plan to them, and what they're going to do is if they see that your business plan there's a good demand for it, there's a need for it, pricing is correct, everything is in line, then they'll say, all right, we'll give you, let's say 1 million for this business idea. But before they do that, they also want to make sure, as the business grows, they're going to make sure that if anything fails, let's say your business fails, and then they're going to take your assets that are in the business and they will sell it and get their money back. So the bank essentially, it's almost like the house always wins, but it's just important to keep that in mind, if you're starting with a funding. So there are a lot of different ways that you can get funding. If you're in a position where you can start very, very small and gradually build your business with your own finances, it is, in a sense, a double-edged sword because you're taking risk with your own money. And in a sense, that can become a little bit of a risk. But the other option is to get investors involved. And you can look at, there is crowdfunding, obviously the banks, so you can look at them. So those are a few things that you can look into to secure funding. But if you're in a position where you can perhaps start small with your own funds, it's a good thing, but make sure that if you're, for example, let's say your business idea costs you 100,000, just for an example. Make sure that this 100,000, you can get that back within the first or second year. So a lot of people, and this isn't just for any business, this is why it is so important before you start with a business to make sure that there is a strong demand for what you want to do. As an investor, as a business owner, you want to make sure that the money you have risked, so you're risking your money, you want to make that back in the first year, and then from there on it's going to be profit. All right, so it's good to talk about that because some businesses, yes, in the first 2, 3, or 4 years, they actually make a loss. And then after that, they start to really scale going forward. So, explore funding options. Look into loans, grants, or investors, or, to finance your business. And then what you also want to do is you want to budget wisely. So keep track. So once you have gotten the investor involved and you've started with your business, this is going to be a huge part of starting your business, and this is going to be about tracking your expenses. So you want to make sure that you don't overexpend in certain areas, because in the first year or two you're going to go into a minus because you have that capital injection. So just budget wisely and keep track of your expenses, and just to make sure that those are all in place. Okay, So one Bible verse that I really love is, and specifically in that situation, it is Proverbs 21 and to make sure, yeah. Okay, so it is in Proverbs 21 and it is verse 5. And it says, "The thoughts of the steadily diligent tend only to plenteousness, but everyone who is impatient and hastens only to want." So basically, if you don't budget, you don't plan, and you're too hasty to get this thing done, you are going to fail. And it's really, really important to talk about that. This is why it is so important to have all these things in place. You're going to have your business plan in place. You're going to have your funding in place. You're going to have your business idea in place. You're going to have your funding in place. All right, whether it is the bank or an investor or group crowdfunding, etc., whatever it is, you want to make these steps in place. So before there is, in a sense, a good order. So you're going to start a business. You're going to make sure there is a supply and demand for this business. You're going to get investors or a loan from the bank. And then it starts with getting real. So this is where the management part comes in. And the management part is, I would say, very much, in a sense, the core of this whole business. And it says that in Proverbs 21, verse 5, it says that the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. So this is why this is so important for you to have a plan, have an order in that plan before you start to jump into that business. So the next is we're going to evaluate and adapt. So what I mean by that is the way you evaluate and adapt is to make sure that there is, in a sense, there is room for your business to grow. So you're going to monitor your progress regularly and assess your business performance. So, be ready to pivot, stay flexible, and be willing to make changes as needed. So really important about that is that as you grow, you want to start to manage. You want to make sure there's room for expansion and you can scale your business. Scaling is a really, really important part of running a business, because a lot of times people start a business and then they get to a point where they sort of have a ceiling and it feels like, there's not really any growth. So that is a different part of then becoming an investor, starting your own business, and now you become an investor to purchase other businesses. That can be perhaps for another video, but it's just really important to have those steps in place. So one Bible verse that I really like is also in Proverbs 3 and 5 and 6, and it says that trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. So it sounds a little bit strange when we read that words. That is not like a non-can attitude where you just surrender and give everything, but really what it says, it comes down to trusting God, that with whatever that you've started with, your business or your career, you're going to really put all your faith in him and know that, you've done your research, you've done your homework, you've worked out the cost of your time, your energy, whatever it is, and you're going to make sure that everything that you've put together, this plan, you're going to make sure, and you're going to eventually give it over to God. So what I mean by that is that, and this has happened to myself a lot, is that once you take too much control, you want to start to control everything in a sense, and that can become dangerous. So you've done your research, you've done your homework, but now you need to leave this plan and say, God, I need help in this. Can you help me? Can you guide me? And of course, he wants to help you and guide you in your business journey. So just make sure that once you have everything sort of set in place, then there's a psychological point where you need to surrender and really admit the fact that, at the end of the day, it really doesn't belong to you in a sense. Yes, you've put a lot of time and energy and everything in it, but the moment you trust God with your business, with your career, whatever it is, he really makes things happen in a sense. And that's really just an important part to remember. So remember, the journey from a 9-to-5 job to becoming an entrepreneur it's really a marathon. It's not a sprint. So you really want to, stay patient, keep your faith strong, and trust in God's plan for your business.